Hello and welcome to another episode of What Travis Says. My name is Travis. Let's talk about Doctor Who. More specifically, let's talk about this year's Doctor Who panel at San Diego Comic-Con. Now, we've talked a little bit this week about the Doctor Who panel at Comic-Con, but only in the sense of the Christmas special. There's one other interesting thing that happened at the Hall H panel that I want to talk about today. Hall H is the hall where the big epic panels are. The blockbuster trailer reveals, Marvel, Star Wars, probably other companies that aren't owned by Disney. And the Doctor Who panel was in Hall H this year, where they showed some footage from Twice Upon a Time and got to answer some questions. Peter Capaldi, Pearl Mackie, Matt Lucas, Michelle Gomez, Mark Gatiss, and Stephen Moffat were all on the panel. And Stephen Moffat is the one that I would like to talk about today because he said something that I'm not sure is entirely correct. Stephen Moffat has said some things in the past that I don't quite agree with. He's written some storylines that are a bit convoluted or confusing or just let down, and he's opened his mouth when it should have otherwise stayed shut. But this thing that he said at Comic-Con over the weekend, I'm not sure what he's talking about at all. Let me just read the quote, which is in response to Jodie Whittaker being cast as the Doctor and the backlash and complaints of the first female Doctor. There is no backlash. That is people who are looking for a problem. I wish every journalist who is writing the opposite would shut the hell up. Okay then. He went on to say that there was an overwhelmingly positive 80% approval of Whittaker all throughout social media, which is incredible that he's able to quantify that sort of data. What I feel he might be talking about though is that in regard to the people at the top of the BBC, the higher-ups, the people who actually matter, there's no pushback to having a female play the role of the Doctor. But the social media comment kind of doesn't make any sense because you can't have access to that sort of data. 80% throughout all social media. Is that Reddit? Is that YouTube comments? Is that Twitter? Is that everything? How does he have this data? The quick answer is that he doesn't actually have this data. It's a nice round number, more positive than negative, but showing that there is some negative, but 80% positive just doesn't seem right. Of course there are people arguing against the change. There are always people arguing against every change. People hate change. And in this regard, we have some men and some women alike who believe that the Doctor should never be played by anyone other than a white male from the UK. And you don't even need to go to the dark corners of the web to find people who are very outspoken about hating this change. I received a comment on my Sexist Who fans video the other day that said, I've seen more people complaining about Sexist Whovians than actual comments from Sexist Whovians. And I said, just read the comments on this video. There were plenty of people in the comments literally saying nearly word for word the things that I was saying in the video to try to make their point for some reason. There was even a guy that challenged me to a debate over whether a female should ever play the Doctor. A debate. What is that going to accomplish? I believe that a woman should not play the Doctor. Okay, well we don't have any say in the matter. It's happening with or without this debate. I win. And the thing about my Sexist Who fans video is that nearly every comment I made in the video could have the Doctor Who words changed around or taken out and still, at the core, be sexist. Judging anyone for something solely based on their gender before getting any other information to make your assessment is being prejudiced against that sex. And the amount of people that thought that I was calling them sexist, I was painting broad strokes, just playing around in the extremes, and they thought that I was personally attacking them. That says a lot about their perception, if you ask me. There are petitions out there to fire Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor before the show even airs. There are campaigns to remove her from the show. Sure, we've always had a chunk of the community that gets really upset whenever a regeneration happens. Matt Smith, he's too young. Peter Capaldi, he's too old. Jodie Whittaker, she's too woman. And for weeks, I have firmly believed that the people who hate the idea of a female playing the Doctor, they are the minority. A very, very loud, annoying minority, but a minority nonetheless. And I'm sure that journalists publicizing the negativity in turn spurs more negativity, but to say that Jodie Whittaker has an 80% approval rating just doesn't really make sense to me. It doesn't seem that positive at the moment. To put that into perspective, Matt Smith had maybe an 80% approval by the end of his run, and as of right now, at the end of Peter Capaldi's run, I'm not sure if he has a 70% approval. I love Peter Capaldi as the Doctor, but there are a lot of very vocal people out there that do not like Peter Capaldi as the Doctor, and it's just hard to gauge that sort of thing. I mean, I like the idea moving forward. I'm okay with her playing the Doctor, but that does not mean that she has my full-on approval. We haven't seen anything about her playing the actual role. We haven't seen how the writing's going to be. Chris Chibnall could change the whole show around. And I've purposefully avoided phrases like female doctor and instead said that the Doctor will be played by a female because we don't know how the writing is going to be. Maybe Jodie Whittaker isn't playing a female doctor. We don't know. Side note, the reason why the title up there says female doctor is because that's how the original question was posed to Stephen Moffat, and also it makes a much cleaner video title. So it seems that Stephen Moffat thinks that there is no backlash whatsoever about a female playing the Doctor, that Jodie Whittaker has an 80% approval rating throughout all social media, and also that journalists should shut up. So either Moffat has his fingers in his ears and chooses only to believe that journalists are spreading negativity, or he's talking about a specific group of higher-ups whose opinions of a female playing the old Doc actually matter. It just seems like he's eerily close to trying to discredit journalists and screaming fake news. I think most of us can agree that it'll be nice to see what we get from a new showrunner this coming season. Chibnall's Who could be very, very different from Moffat's Who, and in a lot of ways I think that that might be a very good thing. In the comments down below, let me know if you've experienced this backlash against Jodie Whittaker, if you think that Stephen Moffat is correct in saying that she has an 80% approval rating, and what you want to see from Chibnall's Who going forward. As always, my name is Travis. Thank you for listening to What I Have to Say, and you will see me on Monday.